so happens that my strike rate generally is around 90%.
Is it 90% or is it higher generally?
In my personal trading, it's 96%.
You guys are following my stops. If I place my stop publicly and people are going to be following me in a large degree, that's creating and engineering liquidity. There's your stop. You don't think these markets are rigged?
Most retail traders aren't failing because they are dumb or lazy. It comes down to the fact that they are trying to learn a very advanced skill and a very complex career path from influencers wearing the makeup of traders. You are led to believe that the whole concept of trading and the financial markets is finding that one perfect strategy. That is not the case. Professionals know that trading is about understanding what is driving the markets, when, where, and how. You are not learning to trade. You are learning to consume, because this benefits the creators through ad revenue and course sales.
Brother,
Retail traders often ask, what strategy is this? What level is going to get hit? Which FVG is going to get respected? Is it the RSI or the MACD that I should be using? Whereas professional traders ask themselves two questions. The first one being, what is driving this market at this moment? And the second question is, where can this data lead the market? Typically speaking, retail traders are technical only and they are pattern focused. On the other side of that, we have the professional traders, which are cause and effect focused and then charts second. Now, of course, we can't and we don't want to trade exactly like the institutions, but what we can do is take their advantage and blend it with the advantage that retail have. So this means having accurate research on why and where the market should move based on data and probabilities. And again, we can mix this with the advantage of retail, which is not having risk compliance, not having to deal with clients, meaning we are not held to the same limitations that institutions are. So this means we can capitalize on our ideas much more efficiently. And generally speaking, we can make more off the same trade ideas. So let me show you how this is done in real life on a retail aspect. So this is a trade I took on Monday on the pound Australian. And as you can see, this is a monster so far. It's just been a waterfall of profit with barely any drawdown. So I'm going to quickly run through the technicals with you, and then we will move on into how I actually came to this idea and how I had the confidence to sell into a level of support, expecting this waterfall. Over the past few years, I've become increasingly annoyed, frustrated, and angry at the state that the retail community is in and the retail education. So over the past couple of months, I've been working on something very, very cool behind the scenes, which is a mentorship. Now, before you click off the video or you leave a dislike, this isn't a general mentorship. This is anything but generic and linear. In this mentorship, I show you everything. So you learn fundamentals, you learn how to not just see the data, not just understand the data, but also use it to forecast trades exactly like this pound Australian trade that I'm showing you. You learn my technical strategy. You don't just get to copy it from a PDF. I explain everything. I explain why we put the stop losses in certain places, why the market does certain things. The why is really the important part. The how is just the surface level stuff. I explain everything, all of my core trading ideas, principles, strategies, and all of my information is there for you. But it doesn't just stop there. You have one-to-one access with me. So every week we will have a one-to-one private call. And this is so I can see where your strengths and weaknesses are. You can ask me questions. I can guide you and teach you and get you to the level that you want and need to be as a trader. You can message me at any time. I am at your disposal. This isn't a course where you're given hundreds of pre-made material or content and you're just expected to consume it. I work with you side by side in live markets so you can see how to adapt, how to forecast, how to trade. So when you eventually don't need me and you can leave the mentorship, you will leave as a competent, confident, disciplined trader that understands how to navigate the financial markets properly. So if we drop out of the H4 into the daily, we can very clearly see we have this bearish trend. Now our trends are defined very simply. It's an objective way. So we use moving averages here. We can see they're all sloped down. 200 moving averages above the 100, which is above the 50. Straightforward. We already have our direction on a technical basis. So now let's go to the H4. Now what we see on the H4 is a little bit more messy. While we do have that daily downtrend, so we know we want to be short sellers again on just a technical basis so far, what we are seeing here is we created this high. Since then, we have just been creating these lower highs, building pressure to the downside. Now, the way I like to trade, I don't like to just sell into support or buy into resistance. That's a little bit too risky. I like to wait for the perfect entry, which is my entry category and criteria. So let me just clean this up a little bit so you can see more clearly the initial entry. So what we had here was a pullback into our 200 moving average and a very clean rejection. Keep in mind, a 200 moving average, some people don't like it. I use it all the time. It acts as a very good dynamic support and resistance. You can go and check on your own charts. It's true. So once we had this, I knew that this trend was very likely to continue lower. We then broke and closed below all of the previous lows from this support level. We retested, we came back up here, showing that the bulls attempted to reclaim and completely failed. So this is a very good way to determine whether a support or resistance is going to break or hold. If we have this level right here, then we break below and we come back up. This determines, is it a false breakout and we're going to come back up and stay in this range? Or are we going to show rejection and the sellers step in and take control and bring the market lower? So that is all it was. However, if we add on the final factor, we draw the fib from the high to the low in this case because we're looking to go short. We saw price very, very finely wicked into this 50% retracement level on the fib. It was almost pixel perfect or tick perfect, pip perfect, whatever you want to call it. It was great. So that was the point where I said this downtrend is strong. We've broken, we're currently in a retest. We've had this retest of the fib. The moving averages are still in a downtrend. The daily's in a downtrend. Then we entered. So I entered here on this bearish candle. Now, in terms of management, it was very simple. Now I entered at quite a high risk period, which we'll go into in a minute when I actually explain the real driver behind this trade. I'm looking to scale in. You'll see this position over here. So what I'm looking for right now is if we take the same rule in the downtrend, so we take the previous high, which is here, and we go to the previous low or the current low like this. Well, what do we see? We have an area for this market to potentially pull back into. So I'm just looking now, I'm waiting. I have no pending order and I'm not doing anything yet. I'm just waiting for something to happen to either validate a scale in or for the market to just continue to run lower, in which case I can look to take profits. I mean, this trade's already running in about 2.5%. It's a very profitable trade. So the stop loss here, same rule. The stop loss initially would go to the high, and I would just be reallocating this 1% risk from the first position into this position. So even though I've essentially doubled the potential reward from the trade, I've actually got the same amount of risk on the table, which is 1%. So this is why I'm looking to do it, is to capitalize on my idea. So this is the thesis on the pound Australian. This is what I did before I took the trade. And this is how I came to the decision that I wanted to take it. So as you can see here, it's just Notion. There's nothing complex. I don't use any complex Excel models or anything like that. So what I do is I start out just by basic stuff. Is this idea valid or has it expired? So obviously if there was a crazy change in this data, then it will be invalid. That's my immediate signal that either I want to trail the stops very tightly and get trailed out, or I want to just realize the profit and close the trade. Obviously we have the status. What is the current status of this trade? It's currently active. Is it in progress in terms of the thesis? Have I scrapped it? Is it closed? What's the idea behind it? And then obviously the conviction. So that's just, again, a very basic way to just begin. Direction should be self-explanatory. And then the time horizon. This is also something very important that you should be doing, or at least accounting for. If you're going for a tactical trader with just a 1 to 6 week period, you might want to take a little bit less risk and maybe plan more entries. You could look for 1 to 2s on smaller timeframes and just continue to do that. Whereas if you were doing intermediate, like what I'm doing, I might want to hold a longer term trade and look to scale in. If it was a structural trade over a long time horizon, I might want to just increase the risk. And the reason I might want to do that is if I'm holding a trade for 3 months to a year, I don't want to just get 3% off a move. I might want to increase that risk to make that period worthwhile. Now, then we move on. This is where we actually start planning and really drilling down into this trade idea. So we go to the trade thesis, and this is where, again, I teach you this in the mentorship. I use the edge finder, but I can teach you how to use other things if you don't want to get the edge finder. So all I do here is just summarize it. I just sort of word vomit it out, if you will. It's just more a way to for my brain to quickly understand it and say, these are the pieces, let's put them all together. Now, what I said about it being a volatile or a risky market at the time of entry is because I entered on the Monday. The weekend, or the Sunday just before that, obviously the day before, we had the news of the Greenland, Trump, tariffs, etc. I'm not going to go into that in this video, but it was a very shock event for the markets. We saw gold rally. The dollar essentially had a pretty large drop. It was a big reaction to the markets. So what did I do? Well, I actually wanted to take Euro Australian. That was my preferred market. However, when we start thinking about how to construct a portfolio, which again, I teach you in the mentorship, we need to consider what the euro is. And it's over 50%, it makes up over 50% of the DXY basket, which is the US dollar basket. So if I was trading the euro, I would have exposure to this and to the US dollar moves by proxy of the euro. Whereas the pound Australian, I'm not as exposed to that risk. And if anything, the pound is more fundamentally impacted by that data than the Australian dollar. So that was a positioning and a portfolio decision to take the same idea, but on a different market to avoid a potential risk. Now, moving forwards, we have the policy divergence. So here we're looking at the Bank of England compared to the RBA. The RBA is the Reserve Bank of Australia. So we're looking at their policy in terms of what can we expect from those central banks and what's getting priced into the markets, what are market participants expecting to happen. In this case, on the edge finder, what we see is the pound, so the Bank of England, this red bar, stays the same for Q4 and Q4 2025 and Q1 2026. Then we see these rates going down. So we have a decreasing interest rate on the UK. Whereas with the Reserve Bank of Australia, we see the opposite. Their rates are increasing. Now, again, I'm not going to go into the real dynamics here, but this is a very good thing. This is something we want to buy the Australian dollar and sell the pound. This is what we call a policy divergence. And this is a key part to the way I trade and how I define what currencies to buy and what currencies to sell. So then I just went and did a little bit of research. So this is just from the RBA government website. It's free. Anyone can go there. But it was just saying that inflation is expected to be above 2 to 3% for a while. Again, that's good. Higher inflation means they're unlikely to cut rates. Inflation forecast for the UK. I expected to actually see a little bit of downside, which again is good for those rate cuts. So that supports our policy divergence idea. Then we're looking at the growth between the UK and Australia. Now, there isn't really that much here, but as traders, we can't just identify what matches our idea. We need to look at it objectively. So if we are looking at this and saying, okay, well, actually, this doesn't align with what I'm thinking, let's just ignore it. That's a failing mindset. We have to account for everything. So we move on. We've got real yields and carry differentials. So what we are looking at here is this position is actually costing me money to hold because of the interest rates. So what this does is it takes the interest rate of the Bank of England, the interest rate of the RBA, and it just finds the divergence or the differential between them. So it's just basically just this minus this, and that's the answer. So the carry direction is buy. So again, we are paying money to hold the position. So I had that in mind. As I said earlier in the video, we trailed our stop loss. The only cost is the carry. So we keep that in mind. You cannot just ignore all these things. Then we move on to the positioning, flows, and market structure. What is the data right now? So although, yes, we are expecting the RBA to hike rates, the Bank of England could be cutting rates, great, but what is the environment right now? So again, we just use the top setups on the edge finder. We had the bearish reading here. COT was relatively flat, but what was really nice was retail were positioned majority long. And we also see the trend reading is bearish. The services PMI is bearish, retail sales is bearish, and again, just to layer on top the interest rates and the policy divergence. So we're really getting into it now. This is becoming a very good idea. Now, COT positioning didn't tell too much. It wasn't a huge factor. However, What's important? We need to note down the invalidation conditions. So what would make this trade a close? What would force us to get out of the idea in terms of, okay, this has happened. Our initial idea, the reason we went short, is no longer the same anymore. That landscape has changed. So we write that down, or what the likely outcomes anyway. Obviously, essentially anything could happen, but obviously we want to think about the realistic and the most likely potential outcomes. Now, here we move on to conclusion. So what you might notice is the technicals take up maybe 10, 20% of this work. Almost all of it is done on an economic basis. Now, this isn't a crazy hard thing to do. It might look a little bit intimidating to people who have never done this before. All I'm doing is looking at this, taking a screenshot and writing about it. And at the end, I will come to a decision. I will say, okay, after all of this, do I still want to sell? I've written about it. I've got it in my head. Yes, I do still want to sell. No, I don't want to sell. Actually, I was wrong. Maybe I want to buy. And then what we do as we go forward, we write updates about the trade. So as the trade is open, we need to pay attention to the developing data. We cannot just open the trade and let it run. Oh, well, you could if you use trailing stops and depending on your strategy. But the way I do it, I don't like to just leave a trade alone. I want to be able to know what's going on at all times. Has the idea changed? What's the developing narrative here? What's the context? So you can see I'm just outlining here. What's the impact on this trade? What's the impact? What's the impact? And again, what's the impact? So then it just continues like this. So it's a case of we build the narrative, we account for everything we can. We don't need these crazy tools like Bloomberg Terminal. You don't need crazy expensive things. You don't need to be high IQ. You don't need to be an analyst. You just need to understand these core ideas. Now, again, this is very surface level. This is not crazy stuff. So all we're looking at is just the basic economic data points. And there is hundreds of data points for an economy. We are just looking at a very select few, the main ones, and we use those to come to an idea. And that is how we get these trades in terms of this is how a trade is built, developed, thought about, and executed. So you can see the technical strategy is actually so basic. I could teach the technicals to a monkey. The real effort, and this is where retail is actually failing, is having to learn the economics and really understand them, because it's not necessarily that hard. It's just a different world. It's not fun. It's not exciting like learning technicals. However, if you are serious and you want to be a serious trader, you want to be a great trader, you should at least understand the basics of these things. So again, I will say it, if you are wanting to develop as a trader, you're wanting to expand, evolve, become confident and be able to do this type of trading, join the mentorship. It's application only, but we will review all applicants very, very carefully. Now, what I should also mention is that the mentorship isn't big. I'm not taking on loads of people. I know that that's a very typical marketing thing. However, it is true. And the way I can actually prove to you that it's true is because, as I told you, this is in live markets. I'm doing live calls with you. All of my attention is on you. I'm not just giving you lots of content to study on your own. I am dedicating my time, my energy, and my resources to each individual mentee. So I cannot have lots of people. I will take 5, maybe, depends. This is the first enrollment, so if 5 is too much, we might actually decrease it to 3 next time. Anyway, that is the video. I just wanted to show you this trade. I wanted to show you what was running this trade, what made me take it, and what gave me the confidence that this trade was a good idea. So guys, have a good one. I'll speak to you soon. And don't forget, apply for the mentorship if you feel like that is something you would like or need.